Let's say I wanted to tell you the top 20 largest Christian denominations in America. That should be pretty easy, right? Well, not so fast. First, do you want to know them by the most congregations or the most people? You might think things would look about the same, but that's not true. The Catholic Church, for example, reports 4,104 people to a parish, while in the Foursquare Church, they report 188. So a denomination could have fewer congregations, but actually more members than another denomination. As a real-world example, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod has 5,796 congregations, and the Episcopal Church has 6,356. But the LCMS has 1.86 million baptized members, while the Episcopalians report 1.57 million. And then there's the reported attendance. In the LCMS, that's 669,000, and for the Episcopal Church, it's 458,000. So by most measures, it looks like the LCMS is bigger, but just looking at number of congregations, it appears smaller. But even making these calculations requires us to have numbers reported from the denomination. But in many cases, there's no numbers outstanding. For example, Independent Fundamental Baptists have a lot of churches. One independently run website counts 8,787. That means that they are bigger than either the LCMS or the Episcopalians. The Pew Religious Landscape Survey in 2014 reported them as 2.5% of the U.S. population, while the LCMS was only 1.1% and the Episcopal Church was 0.9%. So according to that poll, they were actually bigger than those two churches combined. But independent Baptists are independent. There's no denominational structure, they can teach different things, and they don't report numbers anywhere. So to get a real number of how many there are or how many attend church on a given Sunday is a number we just don't have. But even many of the denominations that do have structure don't report numbers or report only some of them. The Evangelical Free Church of America reports average weekly attendance, but they don't report any kind of formal membership numbers. The Calvary Chapel Association doesn't report numbers for the affiliated churches at all. In the LCMS, there are two membership numbers. Baptized membership is the 1.86 million number, but if you only count confirmed congregants, the number drops to 1.47 million. So how do you compare the size of the LCMS to a Baptist denomination? Baptists don't have confirmation, but they often do begin to count members when they're baptized. So compare baptized membership, right? But Lutherans baptize infants, so that includes a bunch of young churchgoers that aren't counted in the Baptist churches, since they require a profession of faith. So comparing membership between traditions has a hiccup because people become members at different ages. There's a problem based on when people join, but then there's another problem based on when people leave. Here's what I mean. Some denominations just keep counting you unless you formally say you've left. If you got baptized in, you're a member until they get your death notice, even if you haven't attended in years. In other denominations, they'll purge you for non-attendance, and even if you come back and start attending, they won't count you unless you formally apply for membership again. So even if you count number of churches and also count number of members, the numbers when you look at actual attendance can totally flip the narrative. Let's look at these two denominations. The Christian Church Disciples of Christ has 3,627 churches and 350,618 members. The Evangelical Covenant Church has 770 churches and 126,829 members. So by both metrics, the Disciples of Christ are bigger, right? And like significantly bigger. But here's average attendance. In the Evangelical Covenant Church, it's 213,604. They have many people who attend that aren't members. And in the Disciples of Christ, 126,217. Their attendance is just 36% of membership. But even so, it isn't a fair comparison because Disciples of Christ don't report numbers for churches that don't give them numbers in a given calendar year. So perhaps they didn't get reports from a bunch of churches and the numbers are way off. So here's the problem. To make meaningful comparisons, we need denominations to report the same things, but member means different things to different denominations, and many don't report at all. On top of that, some denominations that are in many countries don't report country-specific numbers, just worldwide numbers. So you're once again comparing apples and oranges. Now, we do know some things. The Catholic Church is the clear number one spot in the U.S. in 2017, reporting 70,412,021 members in 17,156 congregations. For the number 2 place, in 2020, the Southern Baptist Convention reported 14,089,947 members in 47,592 congregations. If you do the division, there's an average of 4,104 members in a Catholic parish and 296 members in a Southern Baptist church. Now, it's true that Catholic parishes are larger than Southern Baptist churches on average. Even being 5 times larger wouldn't be surprising. But are they really 13 times larger on average? Well, once again, we ask, who's counted as a member? What does it take to get dropped off the list? After these 2 big denominations, you quickly get into the weeds of denominations that are close enough in size that it's a bit fuzzy who is actually bigger. And to add to this, some denominations are swinging wildly in size nowadays. The mainline churches are dropping in membership very quickly, non-denominational churches are growing, and the pandemic has ruined the average attendance metric for 2 years now as a comparable number. And beyond that, some people think that even when the pandemic is over, the numbers will never recover. So watch out when you hear that one denomination is surpassing another in size, and take it with a grain of salt when you hear the count of churches for a denomination. I don't think anyone's trying to lie with the statistics, but sometimes the numbers don't tell the whole story.